Hi, good evening, ladies and whoa, really loud. I apologize. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Eric Martell. I have the honor and privilege of serving as the assistant principal for curriculum and instruction here at Hinsdale South High School. On behalf of Arvin Corning-Lip, our principal, I welcome you to AP Parent Night. Arvin is going to be joining us later. As a comprehensive high school, we have several things going on this evening. And also going on at this time is our honors choral recital. So Arvin is starting her evening there, and then will join us a little bit later. So we've got a panel of people here that will talk to you a little bit about the benefits of AP classes. We will then, at the end, open it up in case there's any questions you may have of us. So without further ado, we'll begin. So AP's classes are a little different than our rest of our classes, right? So I commend you for coming here this evening, bringing, if you brought your child here, that's fantastic. But it's really here because you want to maximize the opportunities for your students, right? Be that in, if your student is gifted or has a love of math and science, if they have a love of liberal arts, if they have a love of music, languages, visual arts, we have AP classes for each and every one of those. All of our courses, with the exception of physical ed and drug ed, have an AP course or dual credit. And so we have those opportunities for our students to be successful and to carry it out here at the next level here at Hinsdale South. So an AP course in and of itself is different, as I stated, because it is a nationally recognized, rigorous college curriculum. So the course and the curriculum is set and approved by the College Board, the same organization that runs and owns the SAT program. So they have a curriculum that is set. We have a set scoring mechanism. At the end of every AP course, students have the opportunity to take the AP test. Those tests are graded on a 1 to 5 scale, with a 3, 4, or 5, typically earning college credit for that particular course. We have, like I said, we have a very successful program here at South. The reason I bring that up is what does that look like is last year, the 18-19 school year, we had over 1,309, we had exactly 1,319 AP enrollments in the different courses for our students enrolling in. So some of the students took multiple classes to get that number up. From that 1,319 students taking classes, we had 987 of them taking the test. From those 987 that took the test, 739 of them passed the test, meaning they got a 3, 4, or 5. Quick math will tell you that that is 75% of our students taking the AP test passed those AP tests, which is a fantastic pass rate and a credit to our staff here at South, one of which you'll hear this evening here with Mr. Dow. So this in and of itself, having that many students take it and pass it is a gold star here for South, and we really emphasize that because we really imbibe the holistic approach to expand our AP access for all students. Right? So if a student has an interest in taking an AP class, we encourage them to do that. Why do we care so much about these classes? Well, it's not because we want the accolades and the rankings. We do get those and we do enjoy them, no doubt about it. But it's because we have decades of research that show us that students involved in AP classes have the best chance of being successful when they move on to college and careers later on. They have those ethics and those work skills that it needs in order to be successful. We want our students to build those skills and our habits to be successful, those healthy habits. Right? What do those look like? Our hard work, our perseverance, our dedication. Right? All of those as a task right now are skills to learn in high school. For those of you familiar with sports, right, you may have heard that Notre Dame has a sign that says "Play like a champion" today in their locker room. We have several teachers that have signs that say, develop the good habits, because they are as hard to break as the bad ones. So we want to encourage developing those good habits while at a young age to carry on through. I I personally have 3 children of my own. I have 2 teenagers, one soon-to-be teenager in 2 weeks. I think she's going on 20, but that's another story. My son is currently a freshman at the University of Kentucky. He is in the Scholars in Engineering and Management program, and he's majoring in mechanical engineering and minoring in German. Right? I don't tell you that because I'm bragging about it. I am proud of him. Right? My point is, when he was in high school, he took 8 AP classes. My daughter is currently in her 2nd AP class as a sophomore, and she just today registered for 4 more. All right? And the thing that I stress with my children is it's more than just the test. It is about the AP experience. It is about challenging yourself while still in high school, and you have the supports of the teachers and the counselors that are there for you day in and day out. Right? College professors aren't always the easiest to reach, right? Yes, many of them have fantastic office hours, but the supports are really built in at the high school level. And so we challenge students and we encourage them to challenge themselves now, while in high school, while they have this opportunity to have those supports. And going back with my son, one of the things that he really developed was, school came easy to him all the way through, right? Until he got to his sophomore year and he took AP US History. And it smacked him upside the head, right? And so he struggled with that course. He struggled. He worked hard, he got a B, right? At the end, he got a 2 on the AP test. I told him that's okay, because you're developing and you're learning those skills of how to study, how to challenge yourself. What do you do when something doesn't come easy to you? What are the resources you're going to reach out for? What are those things that you're going to do? And that's a skill to learn now, when you still have the skills, versus when you're away at college and on your own. So my daughter learned from the same, right? Learning that, and she's going through the exact same things now. And they're going to be great, right? And it's okay to challenge themselves. So as you begin, right, the course selection process is beginning here at South. Right? So as you begin to think about the courses that your child is going to enroll in for the 2021 school year, we really encourage you to pay close attention this evening to what you hear so that can maximize all of the opportunities that we have available for your child here at South. As I mentioned, we have a panel of people here selected to help you with that. On the panel, we have 2 of our STAR school counselors, right, who work together to coordinate all the logistical details of the AP program and AP testing. This is Ellen Jacobson and Mr. Jim Dickerson. We also have our Director of Counseling, Mr. Michael Holland, here. You'll hear from our AP Science Teacher Extraordinaire, Mr. Rob Gottland. And we have asked a couple of our students, one of which was able to make it here, to talk about their AP experience and what that looks like from the student perspective. We have a former student who is a graduate, right, Joe Elbert, 2015 Hinsdale South alum and graduate of Vanderbilt University, to talk about how he has utilized his high school AP experience to leverage additional success while he was in college and beyond. And we also have Ms. Jessica Avelas-Suevas, an admissions counselor from the University of Illinois, to talk about her role and the role that AP classes can play in the college admission process. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Mrs. Jacobson.
Thanks, Mr. Martzoff. As Eric stated, we're very privileged to be part of an advanced placement program with a history of much success here at Hinsdale South. And that's not possible without the support of the administration, incredibly dedicated teachers, parents like you, and of course, our very committed students. As school counselors, we get to meet our students in 8th grade. And then we begin navigating through high school with them, traveling for 4 years until they graduate. We started this process this week in our junior highs for the 2021 school year. As we meet these 8th graders who are anxious, excited, they're starting high school, we discuss with them their 4-year plans and the courses that they want to take when they get here. You're going to hear tonight about the AP program from many different perspectives. With this information, you'll be able to decide if this is an appropriate challenge for your son or daughter. Remember, and as an AP and U of I mom, I can tell you from experience, you know your son or daughter better than anyone up here. Know that there is a very important balance achieved when choosing classes. This balance involves academic rigor, workload, and the most important, quality of life. We're here to help you find that balance, which is unique for each one of your students. On the table in back, there is a College Board AP bulletin put by College Board and a Hinsdale South AP program brochure. There's also U of I materials and an agenda. This bulletin includes specifics regarding the AP program, a lot about its benefits. There's a lot of links to information from the College Board. One of the most important links that I tell students a couple times a week is when we're registering for AP exams. There's an AP credit policy link on page 4, and that's where you can check individual schools' credit that they give per score, per test. So you can know from the outset before you even register. The brochure here is a lot about Hinsdale South School Lease and some thoughts from our students. Registration for the actual AP exams doesn't take place until you are in the course, and it'll start in the fall. For those of you who did complete our process this year already, thank you for your patience. It was brand new to us. It's a 2-step process and a lot earlier than we were used to. So thank you again for your patience. Mr. Holland later on is going to explain the Hinsdale South course registration schedule. While taking an AP class is truly challenging, we believe the benefits are numerous. The one that Eric mentioned, I truly believe outweighs the rest, is that your AP student is here enjoying the rigor of a college program in the safety of our walls. They can find their teachers. They know they can make mistakes. They know that they can get help and their questions answered. And that's the saving and the secret glory of this program. It's been proven that these students gain the knowledge and confidence to go on to be much more successful in post-secondary pursuits. We're really proud to have one of our AP teachers with us tonight to share with you the expectations that he has in his class and what students and parents need to be prepared for as they consider taking an AP class. It's my pleasure, I'm going to introduce Mr. Rob Gottland, who has taught AP Bio here for 10 years. Some years he's even had as many as 5 sections, so you can just imagine the amount of questions he's been fielding every day. He brings to his classroom many rich experiences. Some even include working at 2 biological stations in Ecuador, one near the Colombian border and one on the Galapagos Islands. So I'm going to gladly give him the mic. He is much more fun to listen to than I am. So here's Rob Gottland.
All right. Good evening, everybody. Thank you, Ellen, for the introduction. Thank you to the guidance department for inviting me here tonight. Thank you for coming out to learn about our AP program. I promised Mr. Dickerson that I would keep my remarks brief. If you ask any of my students, you would know that I do have the tendency to get a bit long-winded. So just if you see Dickerson coming up behind me with a giant book, give me a wave or something like that. Anyway, I have just a few pieces of advice coming from my perspective as an AP teacher for the last decade here at South. And I think the first one is the most important, and that when you are with choosing your student or choosing your AP course load with your students is to remember that it should be as individual as your students are. Your AP course load selection is a very individual thing that should be based on your students' particular strengths, interests, what extracurricular activities are maybe involved in, sports, clubs, community type activities, job, home responsibilities. All of those things factor into a student's ability to take on an AP course or multiple AP courses. The very fact that a student is willing to challenge themselves by taking a college level course in high school makes them exceptional by definition. So So please avoid the temptation to compare your student's course load to other students' course loads because everybody's situation is unique. So not only should we consider our students' current situation, I think it goes without saying that we're considering the future situations. If a student is taking an AP course, they're planning on going to college and hopefully that credit will transfer. As Ms. Jacobson pointed out, the link that allows students to check which courses, which grade, or which test scores will be accepted by certain universities, I think, in my opinion, would be foremost in my college search. I have a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old daughter, and I'm already losing sleep about how I'm going to pay for their college. So I understand the stakes, and I take the AP designation of my course very seriously. Although I have a two-pronged approach to my class where my job, because of the AP designation, is to prepare students for the AP exam in the spring. And we start from day one doing that. Again, because I take that seriously. I also have to impart a love of biology into the students. Sometimes those two things have a hard time coexisting, but that's the crux of my job, is to hold students to a really high standard while trying to have some fun and learn a whole lot while we're doing it. I want to take my specific course as an example because that's what I have the most experience in, and it comes with the idea of who should be taking AP courses. So when a student enrolls in college freshman year, very often in biology, there's 2 different levels that a student could take. The first one I'll call Bio 101, which would be freshman college biology for non-science majors. An English major, a business major, poli-sci journalism. And then there'll be freshman college biology for science majors. I'll call Bio 199. My course, as designated by the College Board, aligns with Bio 199, which would be freshman college biology for science majors. Pre-med, pre-vet, nursing, bio, chem, etc. So if a student is planning on a career in the health sciences or any of the sciences, I think it goes without saying that the benefits of taking an AP Science course, or AP Bio in my case, are innumerable. If they take the course and they score well enough on the AP exam, there's a chance that they'll get to skip that course in college, which buys time and money, and that's phenomenal. Very often, I'll admit, based again on my experience, many universities want their students who are in the sciences to take their version of the course. So they won't be able to skip it. They may get credit towards graduation, which they might be able to skip an elective, which could allow them to pick up a minor or something like that. So although they may not get to skip the course, when they retake the course, there's a number of benefits. First, they'll get more out of it the second time around. I'll speak from experience. There are certain biological concepts that I've learned throughout the course of my undergrad and graduate classes like 5 times. And every time I've been taught it from a different professor, I was in a different position and I gained more out of it. And then that goes without saying that the first time I had to teach it, then I really learned it, but that's different. So not only will they get more out of it, their peers will look up to them because they'll know what's going on. Professors will take note, which can lead to further opportunities at the university level. And it'll just generally make their freshman year less stressful, which I think is a fantastic goal for any freshman college student. So again, I think it goes without saying why a student who is interested in sciences would want to take an AP Science course in high school. Very often, though, I get the question, say like, Mr. G, I have no intention of going into the sciences. I know I'm going to be an English major or a poli-sci or something, or anything but a science major. I don't know if I belong in this course. And to those students, of course I say, of course you should be in this course. And I mean that honestly because very often those are the students who stand to gain almost more. Because if they go off, if they take my course, they earn a 3, 4, or 5, pass the test, and then they go off to college and they demonstrate. They say, okay, you are required to take Bio 101, but you've already passed Bio 199. They will undoubtedly get to skip Bio 101. So not only then do they gain those thousands of dollars in tuition, they get the time again to perhaps pick up a minor or something. So for the students who are going to be non-majors, it still is a great benefit to take the course. And that's why everyone should take AP Bio. That's usually my general line. That's, again, my specific example for my course. I know there are similar examples across the disciplines. But the reason I bring it up is to say, while you're going through the college search, make sure that this opportunity is foremost, or one of the foremost decisions. Not the foremost decision, but one of the foremost decisions, because the potential is fantastic. I'm very proud to be part of the AP program at South that sends students off to college with, I can't even exaggerate how many hours of college credit coming from a public school they've earned for free. And again, I'm very proud of that. The thing I'll leave you with is actually, I'm actually kind of happy because Mr. Martoff mentioned it, Ms. Jacobson mentioned it, and I'll mention it as well, completely independently. And that is, these are not college courses. These are high school courses that teach at a college level, but they are designed for high school students. So don't think that you're sending your student off to a college lecture. It's not. These are college level material, but it's designed for your students. We have structures in place to help them along. Our main goal is to obviously get them to pass, but we also want them to grow as learners, and I take that very seriously as well. So please don't be intimidated by the fact that it's college level material, because know that these courses were designed for your students. And with that, I look forward to any questions we have for the panel.
All right, thank you, Mr. Gottland. I was an English teacher, so I'm into metaphors, but Mr. Gottland is a science teacher, and so I will use a metaphor. So mitochondria are the powerhouse of the cell. Your students are the mitochondria, and we will support them. You should be hearing this. And we do support them. So one thing that Mr. Martoff mentioned is our pass rate, which is about 75%, which is very high. But what I am more proud of as a school and as somebody in the AP program is that pass rate is not artificially boosted by us keeping kids out of the AP program. So we are inviting students into the AP program and maintaining a high pass rate, which is difficult to do. But it is a conscious decision. We're not thinking of the pass rate when we're inviting students into our AP program. But because of teachers like Mr. Gottman, because of parents like yourselves, because of students like you have, the pass rate is very high. So that's remarkable, and that's a sign of a strong AP program and one that's supported. So we have two major supports, and like Mr. Martoff, like Mrs. Jacobson, I too am an AP parent. So I know the most important thing for me with my daughter is that she is supported and she is in a safe environment. So how does she get this high level quality instruction and stay supported? So we here at South have two very specific ways to do that. One is called the Bridge program. So the Bridge has a specific audience and currently is geared toward one class, and that is AP Psychology. It's generally our sophomores and seniors. In fact, the Bridge students are I believe, 100% sophomores and seniors, because junior year, they have U.S. history. The Bridge student typically is invited, sometimes even nudged, to take an AP class. Usually one AP class. So it's usually the first AP class. Sometimes for seniors, they may have another one or two in their schedule. But what the Bridge is in addition to the AP Psychology class, they have a support period with Ms. Polishek, who's also the teacher of the psychology class. And in that class, they receive credit, and they receive another 15 minutes a day where they get support for that psychology class. So we're not just saying, take the class, good luck. We're saying, take the class, and we're going to have another class period that you're going to be, again, you're going to be given credit for, where we'll go over concepts, we'll prep for the test, we'll cover some general study skills and things like that. So that's an incredible program for somebody who we have Habib on the panel, who's an incredible student. We have Joe on the panel, who was an incredible student. You're going to be hearing stories of multiple AP classes. That's not necessarily everybody in the AP program, nor do we want it to be or need it to be. So these are students who we're saying, do this, trust us, it'll be great college preparation. So that's very successful. And I asked Ms. Polachek if there's anything she'd like to brag about with that. And again, the pass rate in that class tends to be every year above the national average. So not only are we inviting students, they're passing the test, they're getting college credit. The other program is called SHAPE, and SHAPE is open to all AP students. Also Ms. Polachek, so she works very hard. And Amy Pickley, who's a Spanish teacher here. And what it is about once a month, there are different themes, whether they're stress relief, mental health, college admission, signing up for the AP test, which this year has already happened. But there's a different theme every time. There's always cookies, to which they bribe the students over their lunch period. And generally, it's a very good crowd. It's similar to this. Usually there's 50 kids, maybe more, who show up. Everybody is invited, and it's just kind of a place, it's a support group. It's a support place for our students to say, hey, we're AP students, and we're gonna take care of ourselves, and we're gonna reward ourselves a little bit, have some cookies, and learn a little bit. So that's called SHAPE, and again, Ms. Polachek and also Ms. Pickley are also in charge of that. So we've got some very specific things. If you have any individual questions about those programs, about other supports, definitely feel free to email us, to contact us, during the school day. So with that, I am going to hand it over to our student representative, Habib Raymond, and he is going to talk about what it's like to take AP classes here.
Good evening. My name is Habib Rahman, and I'm a current senior here at Hinsdale South. Over the course of my high school career, I've taken 10 AP tests and plan to take 4 more. The majority of those AP tests, I've taken AP classes. However, a few of them I have taken the test without necessarily taking the class. And in general, about these AP tests and classes, I can say that during my high school career, these have definitely been the most engaging and the most fun classes that I've taken. And that's not to say that they aren't challenging, which they most certainly are, but personally I feel that that's what makes them such engaging and such simply a positive environment to be in. I believe we've heard about classes like AP US History, AP Biology, and I've been in these classes, and I can say they are definitely tough classes. Almost every day you're getting new material, and it is college level stuff. And so it's definitely not easy for a lot of students. Many of them struggle. But in every class that I've been in, even the students who are struggling are having fun in those classes. And I believe that's in part due to the great teachers that we have that are always pushing the students. And although these classes are challenging, the teachers are always there, not only to encourage students to do their best, but also to provide the tools and the steps to help those students. And so many teachers continue to give practice AP tests to provide additional problem sets that aren't necessarily assigned, and will be completely open to students coming in to ask questions for any kind of help that they need. And simply put, I think Hinsdale South has a stellar AP structure. I can't think of a single AP teacher where going into the test, I didn't feel confident after having took their class. Now, as someone who's taken AP tests without necessarily taking the appropriate course, I can say that taking the course here at South definitely made a difference. So one of the tests I took was AP World History. My freshman year, I had only taken World Studies Honors here at South, but no kind of course that was appropriately covered. All of that studying I had to do on my own. And I can say walking into that test, I was extremely stressed. I was worried that there would be all these things I would forget, I didn't study hard enough, and comparing that to
All right, having said that, another extraordinary student, Joe Elbert, who I've known for a long time because I was also his cross-country coach, graduated this spring from Vanderbilt University. So he's a 2015 graduate here and double majored in physics and art history. For those out there thinking, what do you do with that? He is going to have a career in art restoration or something, melding that. And in the meantime, he was my assistant cross-country coach this year, which was awesome. And also is a substitute teacher in many of them. He can teach AP Spanish and physics. And I learned the other day from Habib that he's got the nickname Physics Joe, which made me very happy. So I'd like to introduce Physics Joe. So Joe Elbert will be our next speaker.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Physics Joe, as I guess some of the students here know me as now. I graduated from Sales South in 2015 and enrolled in Vanderbilt University, where I graduated in May of last year. And I entered Vanderbilt with 41 hours of AP credit. I went and checked. So about 3 semesters worth of classes just already kind of in the bank. And that did so many things for me. I just wouldn't have time to kind of go through it all, but I'll hit 2 main points. The first is something that's definitely been mentioned is the extra rigor that the AP classes here at Hinsdale South offer. That was such a huge asset for me, especially during my first year at college. I knew some of my friends around me who didn't have the kind of wonderful opportunities we have here at South to take AP classes. Some of my friends didn't have those opportunities in their high schools, and the transition to college was a lot more difficult for them. A lot of just the workload, a lot of the the sheer amount of material that you're responsible for in college classes is something that you'll only get a taste of in AP classes. I remember a lot of the teachers here at South saying more than once, how much more work it is in college, how important it is to develop those habits now, and I never took them seriously enough, but they were totally right. I'm glad that I took AP classes here and I'm very thankful that they gave me a sample of the kind of work I would be expected to do in college. And the second thing that AP classes really did for me that was super, super important was they allowed me to pursue a lot of different directions with my academics in college. So as Mr. Dickerson said, I double majored with physics and art history, and then I also was able to double minor with Spanish and scientific computing. So I took just classes all over the spectrum. I was, going from a dance class to a science class to a writing class. It was really, really cool. So the thing that AP did for me was it got me out of a lot of the kind of weed out classes. Some of the lower level classes that you have to take in order to take higher level classes, I was able to jump right into higher level classes. I was able to almost complete my physics major by the end of sophomore year because I was able to get out of lower level math and physics classes. So being able to jump in those higher classes and get those done early really unlocked my schedule when I was picking courses in college. So I was able to explore all of my passions. I learned more than I ever thought I would about so many different things, and I absolutely loved it. AP classes were one of the reasons why I just loved learning. I really, really enjoyed every AP class I took here because they taught me to love learning and to be good at learning. So I was able to bring that love of learning to college and really expand my scope, take lots of different classes, and earn 2 majors and 2 minors for it in 4 years. In summary, the 2 big things, the rigor of the classes and being able to kind of unlocking your college schedule were the 2 main things that AP classes did for me. And I'd be more than happy to talk more about it later on in questions.
All right, thank you again. You see why we're proud. Today in SHAPE, we had a special presenter too. I mentioned the SHAPE club before. Jessica Avila Cuevas from the University of Illinois. On the way in, you may have seen the materials from the University of Illinois and from us, so if you didn't, please grab some on the way out. But we don't want to just sit here and go, hey, this will help in college. Hey, this will look good on a transcript, things like that. So we invite the University of Illinois every year. They are happy to also talk about it. So Jessica Avila Cuevas is our next speaker.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Jessica Avila Cuevas, and I am a regional representative for the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign. So I work out of the undergraduate admissions office in Urbana-Champaign. However, physically, I am in the Chicago area. So I am the assigned representative for Hinsdale South, or really the southwest and western suburbs of Chicago. I'm very lucky to only drive 15 minutes away than other colleges that have to travel, states away. So essentially my role is to guide students and also families throughout the entire admission process. This is why my position exists, so that I can provide you with the most information and resources as possible as your son or daughter is transitioning from high school to college. Now, a lot of you, and I can say us because I don't have kids yet, but I know that most of us are kind of having college at the top of our heads since day one, since the baby is born. And so even though I work with the majority of senior students, our role is also to guide students from freshman year to, until they decide to enroll. And so really from the perspective of an admissions counselor is, and specifically working for the University of Illinois, we ultimately look at various factors when we make an admissions decision. So as you probably see in the pamphlet, you see the academic profile of our admitted students, so the middle 50%. However, that's just statistical information to sort of help you gauge on where the student is as far as how they fit from an academic perspective. And that is more quantitative, if you will. But we do hold a holistic review. So really we factor in academics. So it's not necessarily the GPA, whether if it's weighted or unweighted. That is very quantitative information. We delve a little deeper into a student's academic record. So we really look into their overall academic performance, meaning recognizing some trends in their grades, whether if it's, they probably didn't start so well freshman year, but they progressed throughout the years in high school. We like to see that. On top of their academic performance, we also want to see what type of classes they take. And so in the spirit of tonight, we really look at high-level courses, and we really put it into the context of where the student attends. So in the context of Hinsdale South, we want to know that the students challenge themselves, because Hinsdale South does offer a lot of academic focus type classes. So whether they're AP or honors classes. So we really want to see that the student demonstrates that rigor to essentially show us as a reader that they are ready for the rigor in academia. On top of their academics, we also look at their test scores, we look at their essays, we look at their activities and involvement. But really, it's more so the type of classes and academics that they take that really help us gauge on the students' strengths when it comes to their academic record. We also want to see that students who are in their senior year, that they are also challenging themselves. Even though they are admitted, so a lot of our students, today have been admitted from Hinsdale South, including Abib over here. So, congratulations, he got admitted to bioengineering. Even though he is admitted as a senior, this doesn't mean that it's over. He still has to challenge himself until you graduate from South in May, right? So we still want to know that students are still challenging themselves, that they are really serious in their academics, because it does allow students to leverage themselves to be successful in college. One of the benefits about Illinois is that we are a public institution, clearly. So there was a new law in 2016, 2017, I believe, where students who take an AP test and they score at least a 3, the institution of Illinois public institutions as well as community college must honor the course for credit. So essentially, any student who earns a 3, 4, or 5, which is a passing grade, will be earning college credit. So that is the same thing with U of I. Now, there are some classes in which students will be earning college credits based on their score, but also they will be placed into an appropriate class level. All of that information is on our website, and if you literally Google search UIUC AP scores, the first item on the search engine will be the link to our page, which lists all of the classes that are listed and which ones are appropriate based on the AP score, okay? One of the benefits that, as you're kind of thinking about of your child taking AP classes is that, like they said, it does save you thousands of dollars. It does take away some of that time by no longer attending those general education courses or introductory level courses. It also allows students to essentially show the institution, not just U of I, but all institutions that they are applying for, that they are capable and ready for college. So in general, my advice to you all is to, yes, there are so many benefits in taking AP classes, but you want to make sure that there is a balance, an equal balance as well. Don't compare your student versus another student, like they said. And I know it's repetitive at this point, but as someone who reviews applications, we prefer quality over quantity. So just keep that in mind. Okay, so now I'll take you over to Mr. Holland. Thank you all.
Hello everybody, my name is Michael Holland. I am the Director of Counseling at Hinsdale South. So I'm one of the last presenters tonight, and I'm covering the topic of course selection for next year. So this event couldn't be more appropriately placed on our school calendar because from about December 7th, something like that, until tomorrow, teachers have been having individual conversations with students, teachers of the core content areas, so English, math, science, social studies, world language, have been speaking with the students in their classes and talking about what course they're going to recommend for next year. And then the teachers are putting that recommendation into our online database. So tomorrow at about 3:30 p.m., our wonderful assistant principal, Mr. Martzoff here, is going to hit a magic switch, and you'll be able to go into Home Access Center and see which courses your child's teachers have recommended for them for next year. And the important piece of this is that there's only 3 people who really can see that big picture of what's recommended for your child. That's you, your child, and your child's counselor, right? Mr. Gottman only knows what your child looks like in science. So he's like, AP Bio, you're going to AP Physics C, it's going to be great. But he doesn't know that there's 7 other AP recommendations. So I want to just echo what's been said. As the administrator in charge of course selection, I give you permission and empower you to make the appropriate decision for your family, for your child. That might mean 7 AP classes, that might mean 1 AP class, that might mean no AP classes. But recognize the teachers don't have the big picture. They're just looking at the content area, and then you have conversations with your child and with your counselor, and certainly the counselor will help finalize those course selections. So the timeline we're looking at is that February 7th is when everything has to be in and has to be finalized. So by a show of hands, who's parent of a current freshman student? I expect the majority, right? And a current sophomore? And any current junior students? Okay, wow, great. Okay, so for the current freshmen, we're meeting with them February 5th and 6th. Okay, so we expect that they are going to be ready to sit down with their counselor on February 5th or 6th and finalize course selections. The freshmen will have basically one of 2 opportunities to engage in AP. AP European History is the first opportunity to take an AP class, and it's through social studies, obviously. That's generally the first opportunity. The other opportunity is if a student is recommended for the RISE program, which we kind of call interchangeably RISE and Bridge. So Mr. Dixon might have mentioned Bridge. RISE is another acronym, but that's supported opportunity to take AP Psychology sophomore year would be the other opportunity. So for the current freshman parents, that's what you're looking at in terms of AP. For the parents of current sophomores, so next year's juniors, that's really when the access to AP opens up a little bit wider. So there's AP English Language, there's AP US History, there's AP Sciences. Some students do a double AP Science junior year. There's all sorts of different opportunities. And then as a senior, all 24 of our AP courses are open to students who are appropriately recommended for those. So that's kind of how that sequencing goes. But I want you to remember that February 7th is the deadline. So if your child has a course selection appointment on January 28th, they can change their mind and come see their counselor at any time and say, I don't want AP Bio, I'd rather have regular biology, right? That's fine. Or I don't want whatever. I don't want intro to business, I want to take anatomy and physiology. That's fine. Come change your mind. On February 7th, students are locked out, counselors locked out, everybody's locked out. Because we have to start making a master schedule and hiring teachers to teach the classes that we need to teach next year. So there's a very firm deadline of February 7th, but up until then, we're very flexible. All right, so I think that's all we need to cover about course selection. From there, we've got a couple minutes to take some questions. So if anybody has any questions, just raise your hand, you'll shout them out. And if you want to ask it to a specific panelist, you can. If you want to just ask it generally speaking, and then we'll determine maybe who's best positioned to answer it, we can do that as well. We also understand, it's a weeknight, there's a lot going on, so if anybody needs to leave during question and answer, there's certainly no offense there. We want to have the opportunity to answer some questions. So does anybody have any questions for our panel? Yeah. So the question was, are there any AP classes offered during the summertime? And the answer to that, unfortunately, is no. Yeah.
They all 2 semester classes?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So the vast majority of advanced placement classes are full year, so 2 semester, 1 credit classes. There are a few 1 semester classes, AP Micro, AP Macro, and AP Gov, all social studies, which are all typically senior year social studies AP electives.
Mr. Holland, do you mind
Yes.
if I jump in? Because it does bring up a point. There's also another distinction, and that is with classes like AP Psych, AP Environmental Science, that are, in contrast to like AP Bio, which is 1 year of college biology taught over 1 year, AP Psychology and AP Environmental Science, and I don't know if there are any others, it's just those 2. They're 1 semester of college environmental science or college psychology taught over a year. Computer science principles. So we have 3 options, and those are great introductory AP courses because the rigor is high, but there's not as much material to cover over the course of a year. And AP Calc, thanks.
So we're going back first, things back this way. Yeah.
In terms of support to students during school year, I know you mentioned the RISE Bridge program and the research field of AP Psych, but are there other opportunities for students in terms of study groups or sessions?
First of all, I apologize. It is the RISE program. Bridge is something else that we do not currently have. So I don't want to confuse there. And I don't know if a student or alum would like to take that.
So in terms of support, it changes for each AP course. So for example, there are some overarching programs like SHAPE or RISE, but those are generally like all AP courses, and those are usually more focused on like studying strategies or how to deal with stress. And in terms of specific things, it really depends on each course. For example, I know some courses that have review sessions, so AP US History, one of the teachers, Mr. Moretti, he always has these big AP US review sessions. Our current AP Chemistry teacher, Mr. Snyder, has Sunday review sessions where students can come in on a Sunday afternoon and do more additional chemistry work. But a lot of teachers, I'd say the teachers themselves are the biggest resources. So similar to office hours in college, a lot of teachers during their lunch periods, before school, after school, they're open almost all the time for students to come in and ask for help. And I believe some departments, I think the math department is setting up like a tutoring program. So for these difficult courses, the teachers, the departments, all of them have their own specialized thing for each course to provide support for students.
Another quick note that I wanted to add, when I recall my AP classes, my fellow students in those classes were always very helpful. I think AP classes typically attract the type of student who, you know, is willing to share their strategies, you know, and is good to work with. So I always found some of my best friends in AP classes when we were working together, working on things, working on projects, studying together, that kind of thing.
All right, so I think there's another question back, and we'll come up front.
So what's the profile of who is recommended for AP classes?
So I'll begin and answer, and if anybody wants to jump in, please jump in. So I think that's one thing that is going to be very specific to a content area and what they're looking for, like what sets of skills that they hope they've learned in the current class to be ready for the next course in the sequence that might be at the AP level. But to echo what Mr. Dickerson said earlier, is our school philosophy is we want to push as many kids as is possible towards that rigorous AP experience. We don't want to be gatekeepers and say you're only getting in if you can get a 5 on the AP exam. Anybody who's shown potential in the course before that course to be ready for an AP course and is ready for that challenge, we're typically going to lean towards giving that student the opportunity. But it is specific for content area, right? Like you can't take Calc BC unless your pre-Cal honors teacher has seen that you have the skills for it. But there are different courses where there's a little more leeway, right? Like AP Psychology, again, is a good one to take a chance on, or AP Environmental Science, without any previous honors or AP experience to take a chance on one of those courses. So it is a little more content specific, but overall as a school, we kind of have a philosophy of wanting students to have opportunity to seek challenge.
And I would add that most of the honors classes in the content areas are like freshman, sophomore year, and most of the AP classes that are junior, senior year. So that's not 100% accurate, but for the most part, a lot of the honors classes, the natural progression is to AP junior, senior level.
All right, so there's a question in front.
Yeah, besides math, are there AP courses where there's like multiple years of prerequisites that they have to take before they would consider it?
Yeah, so some of the Principal Pokorny mentioned AP Physics C, where you specifically would have to have completed calculus or be concurrently enrolled in calculus. But for most, a lot of the AP courses, there isn't a requirement, for instance, that you're in English 2 honors to go to AP English Lang. We have a number of students who go from regular college prep English to AP Lang if they demonstrate an ability. So there's not a ton that have direct prerequisites other than more in the mathematics and, of course, languages. Yeah. Yep. Please.
So another course, and it seems kind of obvious, is that languages usually have a few years prerequisite. So, for example, my AP Latin class, I had to take a minimum of 2 years of Latin before that. However, I think with almost every single language course, with the exception of Chinese and Japanese, which are not taught here, but all the other language courses that have an AP level, like AP Latin, French, German, Spanish, I believe, all of them, if you had never taken that language before, you can start taking it in high school for the senior, like I've never seen a Latin course before my freshman year. But you can start it in high school and by the end, by junior or senior year, be taking the AP test for that course.
All right, are there any? All right, we'll take one more question in the back. Yeah.
What is the
speak at least for AP Biology, and I'm familiar with some AP tests, and I'm actually glad you asked the question because we make reference to the AP test, and for the majority of, there's just say 24 classes that we have, the majority it is based on the test. There are a small subset that have portfolio, I'm thinking art, photography, computer science principles, where it's actually a portfolio that they amass over the course of the year. But for AP Biology, it's a 3-hour test broken into 2 parts. There's a multiple choice portion at the beginning and a written portion in the second half. I think AP US is similar breakdown, multiple choice questions and then written. And the idea being, I mean, we practice starting literally from day 1 of the course. We begin with practice AP questions so that, like you mentioned, when by the time the test rolls around, there's no surprises, of course, except for what the actual questions are. But they're familiar with the format and the content, and hopefully they're as prepared as they can be.
All right, so I would say if you had a question that we didn't have a chance to answer, please reach out to your child's school counselor at any time. We're here to help your students. We're here to help you figure out these questions about course selection, course enrollment. I definitely want to thank our panel for being here. Thank you for being here, and give Principal Pokorny a chance to give some closing thoughts for us.
I just want to echo what Mr. Holland said. Thank you so much to our panelists, especially our students, especially to everyone, but our students, we very much believe in empowering student voice. So it's it made me so happy to listen to you guys talk about our program. Mr. Martov and I were laughing that we think you answered the support question better than we could have answered the support question. So nicely done. And parents, just thank you so much for coming. Thank you for supporting your students and supporting us at Hinsdale South. We did guarantee our panelists that we would end at 8 o'clock, but if you still have questions, many of us will just stay up here and hang out. So please feel free to come ask any questions you have. And I'll give another kind of just reminder about the course request process. So I know Mr. Holland said this, but I just want to echo it. We encourage our teachers to make that AP recommendation if they believe, the current teacher believes your student has the potential to succeed in AP. The teacher will recommend your child for an AP class. But like Mr. Holland said, the teachers don't talk to each other when they do that. So if you end up with 7 to 10 AP recommendations for your child, that is wonderful that all of your child's teachers believe that, but it is your choice. And so whereas we have lots of students like me who absolutely thrive in 7 AP classes, we have many other students who will say, I'm going to pick 3 and have a balanced schedule everywhere else. I just want to remind you that that is an absolute 100% family decision. So have a nice evening. It's very, very cold, so stay warm, and let us know if you have any questions. Thank you.